Good day, two-wheeled friends. Zach Cords here with RevZilla, and welcome to another episode of Daily Rider, where we learn about motorcycles as we ride. Our guest today, the Honda Navi. And just looking at it, you might have some pretty obvious questions, right? How fast does it go? Is it a motorcycle? Is it a scooter? How does it compare to the Honda Grom, or the Honda Ruckus for that matter? Well, one thing's for sure, it's for sale at your local dealer for $1,800, and I think that makes asking and answering all those previous questions all the more important. So that's just what we're gonna do on my ride to work. And I think I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's go. Okie dokie, everybody. Here we go. Honda Navi, Daily Rider. So, one quick caveat I want to get out of the way in the beginning is that I'm hoping there are some newer riders, perhaps who are less familiar with motorcycles, less familiar with Daily Rider, that are tuning in because of the Navi's entry-level nature. So I think some of the points I'm going to make today might seem a little basic for you usual Daily Rider viewers, but I hope that it helps encourage people who are less familiar with our little community here. And if you happen to be a new rider, hopefully some of this makes sense. And if not, fire away in the comments. Hopefully I or one of the lovely members of the Daily Rider community will help you out. So jumping right in to the Navi. Actually, I think what would make more sense, come to think of it, is if we just turn it around and we face the other side toward the sun, because that's the side that's got all the interesting stuff on it. As you can see, there's a kickstand and a center stand. We're going to put it up on the center stand because it's easier to start that way. So you have a 109.2 cc single cylinder engine in there. There's a carburetor as well, which is kind of rare in this day and age, but obviously this sucker's built to a price, so that's what you get. It does have an electric start, but there's a Kickstarter as well, in case you're feeling frisky or something. There's a little storage compartment here, because it's kind of a scooter, basically, right? So you can put a bunch of stuff in there. I'm told you can fit 24 cans of beer. That seems ambitious, if I'm honest, but anyway, it is, how many liters is it, Zach? I don't know. I just put it on the screen. There you go. So it's, you know, there's room to put some stuff in there. It's not super spacious, but it's useful. Aside from that, there aren't a whole lot of really spicy features because, as I said, it's a bit of a bargain bike. One thing I do think is interesting, you'll notice that there are two cables going to the front brake, which is one too many normally for a drum front brake like this, but the reason in this case is that it is linked to the rear brake. So when you press on the rear brake lever, which is on the other side of the bike, it at some point engages the front brake as well, which means you can't stomp on the back brake and skid to a stop like a sweet BMX rider or whatever. So those of you wanting to do that, you won't be able to, unfortunately. I do think it's kind of an interesting kind of workaround for the fact that the brakes are really, really basic. Other than that, just to step back a little bit, it is basically a scooter powertrain, right? So that 110cc engine is all linked with a continuously variable transmission, or CVT. So there is no shifter on the left side of the bike. There's no clutch lever on the left side of the bike. It's just like a scooter. You twist it, you go, as we will find out. Speaking of twisting and going, I guess let's twist and go. Flick the sucker on, fire it up. Obviously makes just a vicious exhaust note. You can basically barely hear it. And there you have it. The Honda Navi in grasshopper green, ready to rumble. So I'm just going to put both my foot on the foot pegs, twist this sucker, and we're going to ride to work. Giddy up! All right, first order of business as usual is to talk about specifications. But first, what we have to do is turn off our usual Daily Rider route, because that takes the freeway, and head down these surface streets here, which will be more appropriate for the Honda Navi, not a freeway machine. All right, so the specs won't take long on this sucker. It holds 9/10 of a gallon of gas, 0.9 gallons. And with the tank full on the Daily Rider scales, the Navi weighed in at 234 pounds, which is pretty small for a motorcycle, but pretty heavy considering what a toy it seems like, right? I mean, that's as much as a high-performance dual sport. So, you know, it's a little bit odd that way. But the good news is the seat height is 30 inches, 30.1, I think. And that means it is exceedingly approachable, as you'd probably expect from basically a 110cc scooter, which is what the underpinnings of the Navi involve. And a quick friendly reminder that all the specs that I mention in American Imperial values are listed in metric in the description of the video as well. Something that you might find surprising about the Navi is that it's pretty comfortable. I'm 6'2" and about 200 pounds, and it actually fits me pretty well. It doesn't feel cramped at all. It feels like a small motorcycle, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm as comfy as I would be on a full-size bike, but there's plenty of room. My legs aren't cramped at all. The pegs are pretty far forward, and then your hands just sort of sit right above your knees. Back is basically straight. The seat is not bad. I certainly don't feel as ridiculous as I probably look on this bike. Because if you're over 6 feet tall, you know, you probably look a little bit silly on a tiny little bike like this. When you come up to a stoplight in California, you're allowed to split to the front of the line here. And I'm gonna goose it wide open throttle. And I'm gonna get away from that semi-truck because they also accelerate pretty slowly, often. And I also accelerated ahead of that Nissan Rogue or whatever it was there. And that's indicative of the experience I've had on the Honda Navi. You're free to, you know, get in and out of traffic as aggressive as you want to be. If someone leaves a stoplight or a stop sign and they're in a hurry of any kind, they'll probably out accelerate you. It doesn't take much, you know. Even someone who's a little bit late for work in a Corolla is probably going to leave you in the dust. So you definitely want to be a little bit careful with how much acceleration you have on tap. Example, Nissan Rogue passed me back now that we're at top speed, 50 miles an hour. Oh, we got it back. Oh, they chickened out in the turn, I think. Go, Navi, go! This section road is particularly bumpy. Which is a good time to talk about the Honda Navi suspension, which is not particularly advanced, as you can probably guess based on the size and price of this machine. But you know, it does pretty well, I think. A little underdamped in my opinion, a little springy in the back. The thing that hurts it the most with this terrain is just the size of the wheels. It has a 12-inch front wheel and a 10-inch rear wheel, which is pretty small. You know, those wheels hit the bumps a little bit harder. I did have a question on social media about, you know, I heard the wheels are so small that it doesn't feel stable at 35 miles an hour or whatever. Well, we're cruising along here at 45 and it's perfectly stable. No weird shimmies or shakes, just trucking. It feels fine. Someone also asked about cruise control. Pretty sure it was a sarcastic question that I got on Instagram. Does it have cruise control? But kind of. I mean, set it and forget it. I'm wide open. Cruise is set at 50, basically. So, you know, kind of the same thing, right? Oh, I'm catching up to a semi now. I gotta disengage cruise control, turn on blinker control, and merge control. This seems like as good a time as any to talk about fuel mileage and range. I think Honda's claims are something like 100 miles to the gallon or 110 miles to the gallon. I have not been getting 100 miles to the gallon. I've been getting between 70 and 80 miles to the gallon, which is you know, pretty darn good, I think, certainly, but doesn't have the same ring to it, does it, as 90 or 110 or something like that. And that could be because it's carbureted and not fuel injected, so a little bit less efficient maybe, or it could be that I'm just keeping up with traffic, going normal speed, but I'm almost wide open, which, you know, is never good for fuel mileage. What that means practically is 75 miles of range or something like that, right? 80 miles a gallon, and it holds 9/10 of a gallon. I've had to go to reserve at about 50 miles, usually 50 or 60 miles. A reserve, it has a petcock, so for you kids who out there who've only ever ridden fuel injected motorcycles, the petcock is the thing that little valve that controls the gas flowing from the gas tank to the carburetor and to the engine. And so basically it has a reserve function, right? So when you run out, you flip it to reserve, you have another few miles to get gas before you're actually out. But it does have a fuel gauge, so you know, that helps as well. Okie dokie. This is the off-ramp from the freeway where we usually come for Daily Rider, and now we're turning right into the neighborhood, and we'll give the old Navi a test on the stop sign challenge. That's where we try to come to a complete stop and then take off from the stop sign without putting feet down. Here we go. Attempt number 1. Alley-oop. Ah! I did it. Wasn't great, but I did it. And let me say, before we put too much weight on the stop sign challenge, the Navi is exceedingly easy to ride. It's little, it's short, it's compact, it's everything small. You know, if you can ride a child's bicycle, you can ride a Honda Navi. Seriously, it's that easy. How easy is it, Zach? Oh, look at that. Nice footless stop. Woo-hoo-hoo. Very satisfying. But to sprinkle in some actual bike review notes, I think one thing that the Navi takes some flack for is being basically a scooter, right? I mean, it is a scooter. It has a scooter powertrain. It doesn't have a clutch like a motorcycle. It operates like a scooter. But you do have a gas tank between your knees. And as silly as this might sound, I think that that actually contributes to it feeling like a little motorcycle, even if there's no clutch lever. And slow speed stuff like, you know, a stop sign challenge like this is an example of that. You feel a little bit more connected to the machine, I think, in a sort of motorcycly way, if that makes sense. And, you know, as good as scooters are for low speed maneuverability and low center of gravity and that kind of thing, the Navi really, I don't know, it's a slightly different experience in a way that I appreciate. Okie doke, on to Lover's Lane. Time for the passenger report, and it's actually quite good. I was very impressed with the passenger accommodations of the Honda Navi. I rode a little bit with someone on the back. It doesn't change the handling too much. It doesn't feel particularly heavy or weird with someone on the back. It felt fine to me. And then I sat back there for a little while, and it's actually pretty comfortable. You know, with two like full-size people on there, the passenger seat might feel a little tiny bit cramped. You might ask the person up front to scoot up a little bit. But other than that, there's plenty of leg room, easy place to sit. There's a little grab rail luggage rack thing. I don't actually know what it is, but you can hold on to it. And yeah, it didn't even really affect the performance of the bike that much, to be honest. I didn't climb any big hills or anything, but it still went 45, 50 miles an hour, even with someone on the back. So yeah, I think full marks for passenger accommodations, realistically, considering the expectations and situation that the Navi presents itself in, I think. So hopefully you find that satisfying. As we get into the twisty road section here, just one more note on passenger accommodations that I'd like to throw in here. A little editorial, little opinion piece here that you don't have to pay attention to if you don't want to. But the Navi is a great bike to introduce someone to motorcycling if you're in the dating game or whatever. I think I think you'll have better luck, let's just say, no matter who you're trying to attract, if you pick them up on a Navi rather than some sort of loud, fast motorcycle. It's non-threatening, it's fun. I don't know, just a thought. All right, we're peeling into some curves now. No traffic ahead of us. Really bailing. Look at us go. Yeah. Go, little Navi. You know, twisty road sections are not going to be your primary goal, I don't think, on a Navi. But it works fine. Like I said, the suspension is very unrefined. The wheels are small. You get a lot of feedback from bumps and ripples and stuff like that. But you know, if you've got a little couple little switchbacks near your neighborhood or something like that, it would certainly, I think, whet your appetite for actual twisty road motorcycle riding. I don't know, I'm having fun. I got a smile on my face right now. That means something, right? Oh, we just touched something down just then. Okay, you know, in general, I don't find myself dragging parts on the Navi, really. It's you know, even going through intersections, leaning over, that kind of thing, it seems fine. If you really start, you don't want to take it to like a kart track or anything. If you think you're going to do like any kind of performance day with this bike, I wouldn't recommend that. I think you want I don't know, a Grom or a CRF 50 with some road tires on it or something like that at the very least. Last big turn, cruising through on the Navi. Oh, I don't remember the last time I had that much fun on this road. Normally we're like stuck behind cars. We're like, I wish I was on a racetrack or whatever. Not on the Navi. All right, we're coming downhill. We're going 50 miles an hour. We're going to experiment with maximum braking here on the Navi. And go. Oh, not bad, right? I'm pretty impressed. You even hear the tire going. Doesn't have ABS, so do not attempt what I just did if you're, you know, on wet pavement or dirt or anything. You know what? Don't attempt what I just did in general. Wouldn't recommend it. But it was a good brake test, I think. More to the point and more accurately, I should say, the Navi's brakes are pretty bad for motorcycle brakes. You know, like, I mean, especially compared to a Grom that has a disc brake, you know, it's not that good. Not even close. So don't expect it to be. But the sort of linked system I talked about earlier, where, you know, if you hit the rear brake, the front brake engages a little bit, I think that's good. Sort of like quasi safety system for riding in an environment like this. You can plan to use the back brake a fair amount, and you know, with the front brake you just have to be stern and cautious as you do with most drum brakes. So as we get near the end of the Daily Rider route, sometimes we reflect at this point and try to digest what we've learned about all these topics we've discussed along the way. And you know, I think the takeaway here is that the Honda Navi is a scooter underneath. It's not a quote-unquote real motorcycle. However, it is a cycle with a motor, engine, and it's viable transportation. It's built to a price 100%. It's got drum brakes, it's got a carburetor, it's got a petcock, it's got you know, a 10-inch rear wheel. It's got some kind of weird things that you're not necessarily gonna have to deal with if you buy, again, a quote-unquote real motorcycle. But again, it's viable transportation. This is fine. 45, 50 miles an hour, zipped right along, kept up with traffic, got 80 miles a gallon. We got some storage down there. We could have had lunch in there, or cargo of some kind. And I think that's there's something to be said for that Honda is producing these machines and putting them for sale in Honda dealerships. It's not an $1,800 Vespa knockoff from China. It's a Honda with a warranty. And I think that's kind of cool that Honda decided to release this into the market. It's a weird place for a bike like this, the United States, but I like it. All right, so what happens if you want to ride it down a dirty, dusty road, say? Well, good question. Should we turn off traction control? It's already off. Comes from the factory. I'm going to get out of this wheel track to make this dirty, dusty road a little more realistic. If you did have any cans of beer in the storage compartment there, it'd probably be pretty foamy by the time you got where you were going. But look at us go, trucking down the dirt road. No big deal, right? It's actually, you know, that the slightly soft suspension is actually kind of nice in this stuff. All right, where's our jump? Sighting it in. Come on, Navi! Oop. Locking up the front wheel. Oh boy, whew. That was a wild ride. But surprisingly good on the dirt road, actually, I thought. I don't know. It's a bike of many talents, the Honda Navi, apparently. All right, everybody, so this is the section where we usually experiment with whether or not a bike will do a wheelie, and we're gonna have to slow down and make sure hit from behind or anything. But yeah, if you lean back a little bit and give it some gas. Oh, look at us go. Oh, look at us go. Yeah, Navi. Whoa, whoa. Oh boy, what a rush. Oh, that was pretty good. It helps if you have like a slight upslope. That's always good for learning how to wheelie. If you can go uphill a little bit to, you know, shave some of the speed and helps them out. It's a hot tip there from Zach, the amateur wheelie artist. Anyway, I mean, you know, wheelies, dirt road, 80 miles a gallon, onboard storage. I mean, any questions? BMW GS owners or Kawasaki Versys owners out there? Coming up to this intersection here, we can see if we can back it in. I know what the answer is. No, you can't back it in. Back brake is extremely feeble, and it also engages the front brake there with that little linked system. Good for safety, Not so good for acting like a hooligan. Just like ABS, actually. Alrighty, coming into the parking lot of work here. Loyal Daily Rider viewers will know that I'm probably pretty excited about this, right? This is the U-turn challenge. Oh my goodness, we don't have any parking spaces. Okay, we do. We have one here at the end. This is good. So we're going to line up this parking space here. We're going to see how quickly we can do a U-turn. Touching our feet down here. So we're going to get real close to this trailer, this side of the parking space. Come on. Almost one, I guess 1.5. 1.5 parking spaces. That's pretty good. I mean, it is a very, very agile, twisty little machine. Makes sense. Small. Good steering sweep. That kind of thing. All right, kids. That was it. Honda Navi Daily Rider in the books. Did you have? I really hope you had fun. I had a blast. That was awesome. We even did a wheelie, for crying out loud. Oh, I forgot to point out one very important performance aspect. Single-sided swing arm. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Ducati Panigale, eat your heart out. A couple revs of the engine here. Probably not going to impress anybody at bike night, but you know, you might impress people at bike night with the fun factor or the MSRP. I don't know. I don't know what kind of bike nights you go to. All right, we're going to jump into some Instagram questions now. You guys submitted some good ones as usual. Right off the bat, we're going to start with Amin JZ, maybe? Not sure how to say your name, apologize. Amin asks, how does it compare to the Grom? Got this question ad nauseum. We talked about it a little bit, right? But here's the breakdown. A Honda Grom is a motorcycle in miniature. It has a transmission. It has a clutch. It has a disc brake. It has an LCD dash. It has motorcycle things. It's a little motorcycle. This is a scooter kind of dressed up like a motorcycle and offering some of the benefits of both. And it is much cheaper than a Grom. That's the bottom line. Be angry if you want to about how both are available at Honda dealers and why would they do that. And sure, if you want to be upset about that stuff, totally fine, but that's the breakdown. Next question is a technical one from Connor Smith, who asks, how much more difficult is a carburetor to deal with for someone totally new to bikes and bike maintenance? Do you think that difference will be enough to drive potential new riders away? This is a good question, Connor. You know, it's subjective, right? Because some new riders are sort of like, I want to learn how to be a mechanic. How do I do that? And this is a good way to do it. You know, it's a very simple bike. The carburetor is not too hard to get to, and you'll be able to learn to work on your bike in the same way that you'll learn to ride in sort of a simple way. There's certainly potential for someone to be like, I just want it to be turnkey and work and not have to ask any questions about it for years to come. And it might be a little too rudimentary for that. Time will tell. But I think that the bottom line is that's the nice thing about it being a Honda, is that you get it at a Honda dealer, you get all the benefits of that as well. It's not like you got it mail order from some company you've never heard of and you just have to deal with any problem that crops up. Hopefully the support of a large company like Honda helps a person get through or over any of the hurdles that would come up in that regard. Okay, a couple fun questions here. Navi's a fun bike. We'll do a couple fun questions. One from Riley Nickel, who says, based on your opinion only, would a mother enjoy a day ride on the Navi, perhaps paired with a CBR? Well, I don't know this hypothetical mother, but yes, absolutely. Are you kidding me? How inviting and fun and cute and warm and welcoming and all those other mother words is the Honda Navi. Ultimately, it's excellent. I will say, pairing it with a CBR, a higher performance Honda motorcycle, might not be a great idea. I think the best way to enjoy a Navi is going to be with other people on Honda Groms, on Honda Ruckuses, on Kawasaki Z125s, on little scooters, that kind of thing, because oftentimes your enjoyment is affected by what the people around you are riding. So I would keep that in mind. So as long as the person on the CBR waits for the mother, then yeah, why not? Next question, Simon PX asks, does it fit into an average car or elevator? Elevator? Yeah, why not? An average full-size elevator. I think so. Average car, maybe a station wagon or something, probably. Or I don't know. It's kind of big. It's big enough that it's not nothing. I mean, it's a 235-pound lump of machine. And you know, what is this? It's probably 40 something inches high with the mirrors. So if you take the mirrors off, you might be able to get into the back of a Honda Element or something like that. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's not as toy-like as it might look as far as weight and size, but push into an elevator, get it up to your building. Yeah, why not? Tell them I said it was okay. Next question is from BTG Dale. I really like this question. BTG Dale asks, why, as a grown man with decades of experience on most forms of motorcycle, do I still enjoy reading about, riding, buying, and modding really objectively shite little motorcycles? Because you're an enthusiast, Dale. You should own it. It means that you love all things two wheels, and it means that you are a pillar of the motorcycling community. That's what I think it means, Dale. So you hold your head high. You hear me? All right, last question is from Grominson, and I like this question because it's so weird. Given your love of the term spicy, describe this bike as a Mexican food or dish. Gosh, I don't know. Let me think about it while this truck goes by. This roadster truck. Raider Nation. Okay. The Honda Navi is the cheese quesadilla of motorcycling. It's something that everybody can understand and everyone can enjoy. It's just not complicated. It's not going to challenge people who have lots of experience in that sphere. It's the sort of baseline. It's the entry level. And I love cheese quesadillas. I think they're delicious. So I hope that helps you understand the Honda Navi, Grominson, or perhaps some other people as well. Thank you, as usual, everybody, for your Instagram questions. It was awesome. I got a ton of them. So last thing left to do on the Daily Ride, as we know, is put this sucker on the Daily Rider leaderboard. So let's run inside and do that real quick, and then I'll let you get on with the rest of your day. Here we go.
Hi everybody, here we are inside the Revzilla shop and the Daily Rider leaderboard. If you happen to be new here, main Daily Rider leaderboard, everything in this season. This season is 2022 calendar year. Old bikes over here, aka Daily Rider Classics, and the archive board here. Season 1, 2020 and 2021 bikes on this board. And in the hopper, we've got the Honda Navi. Only other two bikes we got this season, BMW S1000 RR and Triumph Tiger Sport 660. The real question, I suppose, is how the Navi will stack up to other small bikes, bikes that didn't finish all that well. Not all of them are small. R18. But Super 73 RX, that's an electric bicycle. Dumb and Dumber Hog, no, the Navi's better than that. Cake Calc, $15,000 electric motorcycle. The Navi's better than that in some ways. So either way, we're gonna put it down here on the board, I think. But where does it stack up here? Better than a Harley Lowrider S? No, not really, no. Better than a Kawasaki KLX 300 SM? No way. Better than a Super 73? Better than a Cake Calc Ant. It's so much cheaper. Onboard storage, Honda dealer network. If you're gonna like huck off jumps, then the Cake Calc is better, certainly. But I'm giving the nod to the Navi. The Navi gets the nod. You heard it here first. Third bike on the board for 2022. Down a little bit lower on the list, fair enough. But all things considered, a great daily rider. And I had a blast. Well, you know, like I said, wheelies and onboard storage. That's not a combo you get all the time. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Daily Rider. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for all your Instagram questions, all your support, all your comments, all your views on the YouTubes. Let's keep rocking in 2022, shall we? All right. Thanks, everybody. Hope you learned something. Hope you had fun. Hope to see you next time. Ride safe.
Like I could, if they just had a little more room under that bed, I could pull off some Fast and the Furious kind of thing, you know? Scoot under there, change lanes. I don't know why I would want to do that. But I'm just saying, the Navi, they handle so well, I guess I could. All right, let's get to the front of this line.